Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling, well, it's a huge topic.
It's a foundational one, really.
Exactly. We're talking about discipline, something that underpins pretty much every meaningful long-term pursuit you could think of.
That's right. And our mission today is very focused. We're not just, throwing motivational quotes at you.
No, definitely not.
We are diving deep into the actual structure, the lessons from a book called How to Be Disciplined by Sheldon Howe. So this isn't just a summary. We're tracing a clear 6-pillar path for you to internalize and, more importantly, to actually apply.
And to make sure this doesn't sound like some abstract lecture, we're grounding every single lesson in a really relatable journey. It's the story of a learner we tracked in our sources, a man named Ritik.
Right. Ritik's story is, well, it's perfect because he embodies that feeling of knowing you could be doing more, but you just don't know how to start.
That feeling of being stuck in inertia. He represents that potential that I think so many of us feel.
Let's start there, actually. Let's paint the picture of Ritik's initial state, the why behind his journey.
Okay.
The source material is very specific. He's living in a small, functional, but kind of cramped flat in Delhi. He has a job that he describes as just okay.
The trap of just okay. It's not bad enough to force a crisis, but it's not good enough to feel fulfilling.
Precisely. He's financially stable enough, but he feels stagnant. Intellectually, emotionally, he's just treading water. He feels restless, profoundly dissatisfied.
And he's chasing distractions to fill that void, right?
Constantly.
Yeah.
He's just trying to occupy the silence of a life that feels a little bit hollow. He's always asking himself this big question, what do I truly want?
But never actually stopping long enough to listen for an answer.
Exactly. He's just scrolling on his phone night after night, that aimless, endless scroll. It's the modern symptom of lacking direction.
It's the easiest path, right? Low effort, high dopamine. And ironically, it's during one of these scrolling sessions that he finds the solution.
It is. He's lying in bed one evening and he stumbles upon a book review for How to Be Disciplined.
And what's his first reaction?
He dismisses it. He literally thinks to himself the topic is, useless. Or maybe just too obvious to be helpful.
But something pulls him in.
Yeah, beneath that cynical dismissal, there was this little voice, this moment of deep honesty that told him this might be exactly what you need.
That need for structure. He finally admitted it to himself.
He did, and that was the turning point. He didn't just bookmark it, he ordered the book right then and there.
Yeah.
He realized this wasn't about finding some fleeting motivation. It was about building a framework so motivation didn't have to be there every single day.
So the book arrives. He takes it to his balcony, makes some tea, and opens the first chapter, ready for this big change.
And the book does not ease him in. The first lesson is an immediate, direct challenge to his entire way of thinking.
Okay, let's unpack that. This is the first foundational pillar, the very first thing Ritik had to do. Set clear goals.
Right. And this was the initial shocker. Ritik, and I think most of us, we assume discipline starts with, painful sacrifice, gritting your teeth.
Brute force.
Yeah.
Willpower.
Exactly. But the book states, unequivocally, that the true foundation of discipline is establishing clear, achievable goals. It's the prerequisite. It comes before the willpower.
Which makes perfect sense when you stop and think about it. You can't be disciplined if you don't know what you're being disciplined for.
Goals give you direction. They fuel your motivation. And crucially, they give you a framework to measure your progress. Without that, you're just spinning your wheels.
And Ritik's big failing, as you said, was living in the land of these vague dreams.
Oh, absolutely. He'd tell himself things like, one day I'll start my own company, or I'm going to become a digital marketing expert.
These sound great. They're wonderful aspirations.
But they're functionally useless when you wake up on a Tuesday morning. There's no action attached. There's no deadline. There's no way to even know if you're getting closer. So you can just postpone them forever without feeling like you failed.
And there's a quote from the author, Howe, that really hit Ritik hard on this point.
Yes. It was so simple. If you don't know where you are going, you'll never get there.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It strips away all the excuses, doesn't it? It told him his problem wasn't the lack of potential, it was the lack of a map.
That quote was the trigger. Ritik's first truly disciplined act wasn't going for a run. It was closing the book, finding a quiet corner, and just writing.
Translating the dreams into actual concrete steps.
He had to make them specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That SMART framework, even if the book didn't call it that.
And we can see the change immediately in what he wrote down, can't we?
Oh, completely. The flowery language is gone. Goal 1, fitness. Not get in shape, but lose 10 kilograms in the next 6 months. That's a number and a deadline.
Right. Goal 2, career. Not get better at my job, but complete 3 advanced digital marketing courses, a specific trackable number.
And goal 3, personal growth. Read 5 new books every month. The detail, the specificity, it makes the goal inescapable. You either did it or you didn't.
And the sources say that just writing them down gave him this odd sense of relief.
Agency. For the first time, he felt like he was in the driver's seat. The abstract chaos in his mind was finally ordered on paper. But of course, the real test of discipline, as opposed to just motivation, came the very next morning.
Of course, the alarm clock.
Yeah.
The eternal enemy of good intentions.
The tyranny of the snooze button. He sets his alarm for 6:00 a.m., full of resolve, and then 6:00 a.m. actually comes.
And he feels that physical drag, the warmth of the bed.
He hit snooze and wakes up at 7:30 a.m., instantly angry at himself, feeling like a total fraud on day one.
And this is the moment, I think, where 90% of self-improvement plans just die. That first stumble.
But this is where the guidance from the book was so brilliant. It prepared him for this. It basically predicted it. There's a line that says, failure is a part of the process. Don't be discouraged by small setbacks. Focus on getting back on track.
So it reframed the moment for him.
Yeah.
It wasn't a moral defeat. It was just expected data.
Exactly. He was prepared for the failure. So instead of spiraling into shame and giving up, Ritik was able to sort of smile and say, okay, the book told me this would happen. I lost this battle, but the war for discipline is about quick recovery.
That's a huge insight. Discipline isn't about never failing. It's about how fast you recover from failure.
And to help with that, he used a key technique from the book, a visualization and tracking method.
The wall chart, let's talk about that.
He created this large chart on his wall, his discipline tracker. He listed his goals down the side and the days of the week across the top. It created this grid of small, empty boxes for every single day.
There's some real psychology behind that, isn't there? It's not just a to-do list.
Not at all. It's about externalization. You're taking this internal abstract commitment and turning it into a big physical object on your wall. You can't ignore it. It's staring you in the face every morning.
And then there's the satisfaction of ticking the box.
That's the key. Every time he ticked a box, for exercising, for reading, for studying, he got a tiny, immediate hit of dopamine, a micro reward. It connects the hard work of the present to the long-term goal.
It makes the process sticky. It turns this huge, distant goal into a series of small, daily wins.
Exactly. But what's fascinating is how his goals had to evolve. He was so focused on these metrics, kilograms, courses, books, that he started to neglect another huge part of his life.
Right, the human element.
His mother called him, and she was concerned. She said he hadn't contacted the family in weeks. In his intense focus to become this disciplined machine, he was becoming isolated.
And he felt that pang of guilt. He was succeeding at the discipline of work, but failing at the discipline of being a son.
It was a massive revelation for him. He realized that clear goals have to be holistic. They have to encompass your relationships, your life balance. What's the point of a successful career if you end up alone?
So for you, the listener, this is a crucial check. Your goals must reflect your values, not just your ambitions.
He immediately added a 4th goal to his chart. Call his parents every week. Spend dedicated time with them. The goals had to reflect the person he wanted to be, not just the things he wanted to achieve.
That's a beautiful and necessary adjustment. Okay, so Ritik has his map. He has his clear direction. Now he needs the scaffolding to hold that map up every single day.
Which brings us neatly to the second major pillar from the book, building structure. Develop a routine.
And Ritik knew this was his weak spot, right?
He was brutally honest with himself about it. His life before was completely disorderly, late nights scrolling, late mornings from being tired, and then entire weekends just wasted trying to recover. He was living reactively, not intentionally.
And the book's insight here is that a consistent daily routine is the bedrock of habit formation.
It's all about minimizing decision fatigue. Think about it. If you have a routine, you don't wake up and have to decide if you're going to exercise. You don't have to decide when you'll study. The schedule has already made the decision for you.
Which frees up all that mental energy for the actual work. You're not wasting willpower on the small stuff.
Exactly. So he immediately gets to work detailing his new structure. And it was meticulous.
Let's walk through it.
6:00 a.m. wake up, non-negotiable. 6:15 to 7:00 a.m. was his exercise slot. Then he had fixed work blocks, like a proper workday, 8:00 a.m. to noon, then 1:00 p.m. to 5:00 p.m.
So he's structuring his focus time even within his job.
Yes. And then dedicated time for study and reflection in the evening. And a hard stop at 10:00 p.m., no more electronics. Bedtime.
Creating the plan is one thing, sticking to it is another.
Oh, the initial difficulty was immense. The sources detail the struggle, the physical urge to stay in bed, the mental resistance to starting his workout. He had to keep reminding himself of the principle. Habits are painful to build at first, but consistency makes them automatic.
It's that initial energy investing that pays off down the line, and he started seeing results pretty quickly.
He did. Tangible results. His manager at work pulled him aside and commented on the improvement in his productivity. He said something like, "You've done more focused work this past week than almost anyone."
And that kind of external validation is rocket fuel for a new habit. It's proof that the system is working.
It reinforced the new identity he was building for himself. He wasn't the just okay guy anymore. He was becoming a reliable, high-output individual.
But then life happens. The real world doesn't care about your perfectly structured schedule.
Exactly. This is the balance check. One Sunday, he's deep in his study time, and a close friend calls. Impromptu movie outing. It's a direct conflict with his new sacred routine.
And this is the moment of truth, isn't it? Is the routine your master or is it your tool?
This is a critical pivot point. And the book's advice here is what prevents burnout. It explicitly warns that a routine that's too rigid, with zero exceptions, quickly starts to feel like a prison.
It becomes a burden.
Yes, and then you rebel against it. So the book advises allowing for calculated flexibility. You have to be able to accommodate the important, unexpected parts of life.
Okay, but how do you know the difference? How can you tell if it's necessary flexibility for a friendship versus just, old habits and procrastination creeping back in?
That is the essential question. And the answer is to link the flexibility back to the goals. You can be flexible as long as it doesn't fundamentally derail the mission. And this is key only if you reschedule the commitment.
So it's not about dropping the ball. It's about moving it.
Precisely. Ritik didn't just say, forget studying. He told his friend yes, but he immediately scheduled his makeup study time for later that evening or early the next morning. He was adjusting the deployment, not abandoning the commitment.
And that's when he had that big realization.
Yeah.
The routine is there to optimize his life, not to eliminate enjoyment from it.
Right. Structure enables freedom. When you know exactly when you'll be productive, you can relax and be fully present during your free time without any guilt.
So he's imposed order on his external world. He has his schedule. But the biggest fight is always internal.
Always. Which brings us to pillar 3, maybe the toughest battleground of all. Battling temptation. Embrace self-control.
So even with the perfect schedule, the old urges are still there.
They are. His self-diagnosis was painfully honest. He was an expert at chasing short-term pleasure. Hours of social media, binge-watching shows, anything that offered an immediate dopamine hit but actively worked against his long-term goals.
And the core lesson he had to internalize was what?
Resisting short-term pleasures in favor of long-term goals is the foundation of disciplined living.
That's the psychological muscle he had to build.
And the book warns about how subtle these distractions are.
Very subtle. They don't show up and say, I'm here to ruin your progress. They disguise themselves as harmless little breaks. Just a quick peek at your phone. 5 more minutes of this show.
But every small yes to temptation weakens your resolve just a little bit. They add up.
They absolutely do. So Ritik decided to go to war with his biggest distraction, his phone. And what was his strategy? This is something so many of us struggle with.
His approach was pretty radical. He called it a digital amputation. He deleted every single non-essential app, social media, games, anything that was a known time sink. Gone.
Wow. Cold turkey.
And for the apps he had to keep, he set a strict screen time limit. He allowed himself only 15 minutes of social media a day, and only after his important work and study were done. He engineered his environment to make failure more difficult.
You can't just rely on willpower. You have to build systems. And he had a guiding question he would ask himself.
A very powerful one. In any moment of temptation, he would stop and ask, will this action take me closer to my goals or further away?
A simple, clarifying filter. It connects the tiny choice in the moment to the big picture.
And the narrative gives us 2 perfect examples of him testing this new self-control muscle. A big one and a small one.
Let's start with the big one, the party.
Right. He's just building momentum, and he gets an invitation to a big weekend party. The old Ritik would have been there in a heartbeat.
The fear of missing out is a powerful force.
It is. He felt that pull, but he thought about his goals, about the progress he'd made, and he declined the invitation. He sacrificed that immediate social pleasure for his long-term mission.
And the source highlights the feeling he had the next morning.
Yes. Waking up clear-headed, on schedule, he felt this deep, quiet sense of pride. That was his reward. It was internal validation, which is so much more powerful than external fun.
And there's that great quote that sums it up. Discipline is choosing between what we want now and what you want most.
That decision was him living that quote. But then you have the small test, the daily fight,
The gulab jamun.
his favorite sweet. He had a deeply ingrained habit of eating one after lunch every day. It's a small pleasure, a cultural comfort.
But it was in direct conflict with his fitness goal of losing 10 kilograms.
And it's easy to dismiss these little things, right? Oh, it's just one sweet. But the book argues that your discipline is defined by these tiny daily choices just as much as the big ones.
The self-control muscle has to be exercised everywhere, not just on the big decisions.
So what did he do? Every time the craving hit after lunch, he would physically take out his notebook, look at his goal, lose 10 kilograms, and look at his wall chart. He used those external anchors to make the long-term goal feel more real and more important than the immediate desire for sugar.
He was making the invisible future visible in the present moment.
Perfectly put. And finally, there's a great example of self-control in a crisis. A huge, high-stakes project at work required him to work late nights, threatening his whole routine.
And this wasn't a leisure distraction. This was a legitimate professional demand.
Right. And the old Ritik would have used it as an excuse to let everything slide. I'm too busy, I can't exercise, I can't study.
But the disciplined Ritik.
He adapted. He didn't abandon his commitments. Maybe he couldn't do his full 45-minute workout, so he did a 20-minute high-intensity one. Maybe he couldn't study for an hour, but he read for 15 minutes. He protected his promises to himself.
It shows that self-control isn't just about saying no to fun things. It's about managing difficult circumstances while maintaining your core identity.
He was mastering his external world, his time, his temptations. But he quickly realized that even with perfect external discipline, his internal world was still a mess.
Which brings us into section 4. This is where it gets more advanced. Taming the mind. Practice mindfulness.
Yeah, this was his next big hurdle. He'd be sitting down to work, following his schedule perfectly, but his mind would be somewhere else completely.
What was happening?
He was worrying about the future. What if I fail this course? Or reliving mistakes from the past. Why did I say that thing in the meeting yesterday? This internal noise, this mental chatter, was draining his focus.
It's exhausting. Takes so much energy away from the actual task at hand.
And the book presented mindfulness as the solution, the practice of being fully present in the moment. It promised to reduce anxiety and lead to clearer, better decision-making.
The book used a great analogy to explain this, right? The monkey mind.
Yes, and it resonated deeply with Ritik. It said, the mind is like a monkey, always jumping from one thought to another. Mindfulness helps you tame this monkey.
So what practice did he adopt? How did he start taming his monkey?
He started simple, which is always the best way. Just 10 minutes of deep breathing meditation in the morning and 10 minutes at night. That's it. Just focusing on the sensation of his breath.
And the key insight he learned is that mindfulness isn't about stopping your thoughts.
That's the biggest misconception. It's impossible. The goal is to create distance from them, to observe them without judgment.
So a worrying thought would pop up.
And instead of getting swept away by it, he learned to just acknowledge it, almost like watching a cloud pass in the sky. He'd think, that's a worry about the future, and then gently guide his attention back to his breath.
That gentle, non-judgmental redirection, that's the skill.
It is. And for the first time, he felt a sense of control over his own mind. He realized he didn't have to be a slave to every random thought or anxiety that appeared.
And the practical impact on his work was huge.
Immediate and observable. He was faced with another high-pressure project, the kind that normally sends everyone into a panic.
But Ritik stayed calm.
Completely calm. While his colleagues were spiraling, he used his newfound focus to just be present with the problem. He systematically broke the huge task down into small, manageable steps and created a clear plan. He wasn't reacting emotionally, he was responding strategically.
And the book emphasizes this. Mindfulness improves clarity of thought, which leads to better decisions under pressure.
But the change wasn't just professional, it transformed his personal life.
How so?
By taming his monkey mind, he was able to give his full attention to people. When he was on the phone with his mother, he was on the phone with his mother, not half listening while planning his next task.
That full, undivided presence, that's one of the greatest gifts you can give someone.
It is. It strengthened all his relationships, and he also used it as a tool for stress. When he felt overwhelmed, he would repeat a mantra to himself. I am in this moment. What is now is the truth. Everything else is a trick of my mind.
That's powerful. It strips anxiety of its power by grounding you in the present reality.
He really internalized the philosophy of that pillar. The present moment is the only place where life truly exists. He started noticing the small things again. The taste of his tea, the sunset.
He had the external framework and now the internal focus. He must have been feeling unstoppable.
He was. But the book and life have a way of reminding you that discipline is not a shield against reality, and reality always includes failure.
Which sets the stage perfectly for Section 5, maybe the most difficult pillar to truly master, the essential pivot. Learn from failures.
Ritik was riding high. He was on a roll. He meticulously planned his next huge work project. He felt totally prepared. And then it failed.
And not because he wasn't disciplined.
No. It was due to a combination of factors. Some outside his control missed deadlines from his team, and some internal weaknesses he hadn't seen yet. But the outcome was failure, a major professional setback.
And that feeling, especially when you've put in all the work, is just crushing.
He felt that sharp, familiar anger, the feeling that all his effort, all the routines, all the discipline, it was all for nothing, a total waste.
This is the moment where true resilience is made or broken.
And the book offers the ultimate reframe. It says, failure is not the end, it's a stepping stone to success. Discipline involves learning from setbacks rather than being discouraged by them. It demands an active response, not a passive retreat.
So instead of quitting, you have to analyze. You have to treat the failure as data.
Highly personalized, essential feedback. The lesson is that every failure contains a specific piece of knowledge. Your job is to find it and use it.
So Ritzek didn't blame everyone else. He started with himself.
He did a clinical analysis of his own mistakes. He realized he had overlooked small details. He hadn't been firm enough in his team check-ins. And critically, he had tried to do too much himself instead of delegating properly.
And the key is to do that reflection without self-blame, right?
Yes. The book's advice is, reflect on your mistakes, not to blame yourself, but to improve. The goal is growth, not guilt.
He had to shift his internal story about what failure meant.
He did. He started telling himself, failure is a detour, not a dead end. It's a chance to refine my strategy and come back stronger. That perspective shift is everything. It turns a painful event into a productive one.
And he got to test this principle again on a smaller scale, didn't he?
He did. After one of those late nights at work, he overslept. He missed his 6:00 a.m. alarm.
The old Ritik would have just written off the whole day. The what the hell effect.
Exactly. Well, I've already failed, so I might as well eat junk food and watch TV all day. But the new Ritik applied the lesson. He reminded himself, discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about bouncing back fast.
So he didn't spiral.
No. He just got up, started his schedule late, and committed to being back on track at 6 a.m. the very next morning. Not next Monday. Tomorrow.
And to make sure he never wasted these lessons, he actually formalized the process.
Yes, this was brilliant. He created a new section on his wall chart, lessons learned.
Yeah.
Every time he made a mistake, big or small, he would write down the specific insight he gained from it. He institutionalized the feedback loop.
And the results of this resilience became obvious to others.
Very obvious. His manager later noted the tremendous improvement and pointed out that the big project failure had actually taught Ritik leadership skills that were now making him even more effective.
So the failure was necessary for his growth.
He finally accepted that. His ultimate realization was, resilience is built through failures. The more you face setbacks, the stronger you become. His relationship with mistakes was transformed.
Okay, so he has the goals, the routine, the self-control, the mindfulness, and the ability to learn from failure. He has all 5 components.
But the book saves the most important one for last. The pillar that holds the entire structure together.
We've reached the 6th and final pillar. The ultimate key, consistency.
This was Ritik's final profound realization. The other 5 lessons, no matter how well he learned them, only worked if he applied them continually.
Consistency wasn't just another skill. It was the operating system for all the other skills.
Yes. He looked back at all his past failed attempts at self-improvement and saw the pattern. A huge burst of motivation for a week or two, followed by a slow fade back into old habits. The problem was never starting. It was always inconsistency.
So what was the definitive principle here?
Motivation gets you started, but consistency keeps you going even on days when you don't feel like it. Showing up matters the most.
That's the core distinction. Motivation is an emotion. It's fleeting. You can't rely on it. Consistency is an action. It's a choice.
So he made a new commitment, a commitment to the minimum viable effort, to take one small step every single day, no matter what, no matter how tired or uninspired he felt.
So on a day he felt exhausted, he would still do what?
He'd still do 20 minutes of exercise instead of 45. He'd still read one single page of his book. He might just do 5 push-ups. The point wasn't the quality of the effort on that day. The point was not breaking the chain. The point was showing up for himself.
And we see this pay off in his career immediately.
Massively. The next big project he led, one that was very similar to the one he'd failed. He crushed it. He was consistent with his refined plan, consistent with his team meetings, consistent with his delegation. He finished ahead of schedule and got huge praise for his steady, measured leadership.
And this consistency filtered down into everything. Those small habits, too.
Reading at least one page every night, calling his parents every Sunday, it was about keeping those small promises to himself, because those tiny, unbroken promises compound over time into unbreakable self-trust.
And his friends noticed the change.
They did. They commented on his total transformation. They said he seemed calmer, more capable, like he could handle anything that came his way without getting stressed.
And his own definition of consistency became very simple.
Just keeping a promise to yourself every day. It's not about being perfect, it's just about trying. Every single day.
The final piece of wisdom from the book really reframes the whole journey, doesn't it?
It does. It provides the perfect conclusion. Discipline is not the goal, it's the journey. Keep going, and you will find that success becomes a habit, not a destination.
And Rick really internalized that. He realized this wasn't a project with an end date. The journey never ends. Every day is a new opportunity for self-improvement.
He finally found happiness not in achieving the outcome, but in the integrity of the daily process. The satisfaction was in the effort itself.
That's a profound shift. From chasing a destination to just living the journey with honesty.
That's the whole game. It's what makes the entire system sustainable. The reward is built into the process of showing up.
So a masterful synthesis of Ritik's journey. Let's just quickly recap those 6 pillars.
You start with the clarity of clear goals.
Then you build the physical framework with a routine.
You defend that framework against temptation using self-control.
You sharpen your internal focus with mindfulness.
You use failure not as an ending, but as essential feedback.
And you tie it all together with the most important pillar, unwavering consistency.
It's a sequential process. Each pillar builds on the last, creating this unstoppable internal system.
It sounds like discipline is really just the sum of thousands of small, intentional choices repeated over and over again.
That's it, exactly. It starts with clarity, and it's powered by momentum.
So what does this deep dive mean for you, the listener? If consistency is the key that unlocks everything else, we have a final thought for you to take away, a way to test this principle right now.
We saw Ritik commit to reading just 1 page, or doing just 5 push-ups. These were his minimum viable commitments, designed only to keep the habit streak alive.
So we challenge you to identify one single small commitment for yourself, and it has to be almost laughably easy to complete. Maybe it's taking one single deep, focused breath when you feel stressed. Maybe it's writing down your one top priority for the day.
Something so small you can't say no.
And then just do that one small thing every day for the next week. Don't worry about the quality. Don't worry about doing more. Just focus on not breaking the chain. Prove to yourself with the smallest possible action that success truly is a habit, not some far-off destination. Start small, be consistent, and as Ritik's journey shows us, the rest will follow.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this gives you the clarity you need to start or continue your own journey.
We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the sources.